Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the HASP annual meeting of 2021. I'm Barbara Studging, President of HASP. We are happy and grateful that you are attending this morning to help us celebrate the events of last year. And as we prepare to look back over the year, I want to recognize Kim Mendels for her exceptional leadership that propelled us through the many challenges that came our way. I also want to thank Susan Timmer, our new program coordinator, for her assistance, especially in the areas of technology as we found our way through new virtual and remote experiences. Finally, thank you, HASP members, for your willingness to engage in new ways of learning and communicating. Certainly, as lifelong learners, we can pat ourselves on the back for learning how to attend classes and meetings on Zoom. It has been a learning curve as we progressed through the year. This morning, we will be thanking several members for their specific contributions to HASP this past year, but all of you have shown your support for HASP through your membership and engagement in HASP activities. Thank you so much. And now I call to order the HASP 2021 annual business meeting. The June 16, 2020 annual meeting was recorded. In lieu of written minutes, the meeting link was sent to you via email and is also available on your HASP YouTube channel. And now we ask you to take a moment with us to remember the HASP members we have lost this year. HASP is different without them, and we fondly remember their contributions and friendship. Our director, Kim Mendels, will light a candle in memory of each member as their name is read by Vice President Brad Bright and myself. Frederick Kelly.
George Zeidemann.
William Cohen.
James Strickland.
Robert Palma.
Gordon Van Wylen.
Barbara Mast.
Al Kindiff.
George McGee.
Maxine DeBryan.
Connie Boersma.
Russell Foy.
Lou Hallisey.
Jody Syons.
Bruce Ellis.
Ione Trapp.
These candles will remain lit for the duration of our meeting as a reminder of the lives of these members. The Treasurer's Report was published in the June 2021 newsletter. I hope that you have reviewed it and submitted any of your questions. I would like to make a few comments about a new item in the proposed 2022 budget, which many of you may have noticed. The budget for fiscal year 2022 includes a new line item for a continuing education and professional development plan, which was approved by the board in March. As stated in my report in the June newsletter, the purpose of the plan is to provide HASP employees with opportunities to attend educational and/or professional development conferences and programs. The total amount in the 2022 budget for the plan is $7,500, of which $5,000 is allotted for the HASP director and $2,500 for our program coordinator. Each employee will be granted up to 5 days during the year to attend an approved event. Unused time will expire at the end of the year. However, unexpended balances will be carried forward up to a maximum of 50% for each employee. The plan will be under the direct administration of the HASP Personnel Committee. As a lifelong learning organization, we are excited and pleased to establish this plan for our HASP employees. If you wish to review the plan in its entirety, please contact the office for a copy. Kim will be addressing any questions that were submitted to her in her director's report. The final treasurer's report will be published and filed in the fall after we have closed out the May and June numbers. Kim will now give her director's report.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for being here. And I just want to acknowledge, I think it's important to acknowledge what a long and hard year it's been. And we've had a lot of screen time, Susan and I both. And it's been hard, and we have missed you. And we are looking forward to seeing you in person again soon. But I want to express a sincere thank you to all of you for the amazing effort you made to learn how to Zoom and to still participate and to still stay committed to HASP over the last year. So I'm going to take a few minutes to give my report, which is mostly a highlight of some of the committee reports that were included in your June newsletter. But I've learned that it's never safe to assume that people have read that. And I know it's a long newsletter in June. It's a lot of report after report, especially if you receive it online. It's difficult to read that many pages, so I'd like to highlight a few things. I'm also going to answer a few questions that we received in our email from the Google form for the treasurer. So let me share my screen a minute here with a few slides. And then we will go through it. Okay, are you seeing that? HASP operating budget? Okay, great. So our annual operating budget for this past year, as you hopefully saw in Don's report, was $137,000 total. Our forecasted annual income, though, for the end of the year is $117,000 and some change. That's primarily because, as you'll see from my notes on the slide, that certainly and understandably we are below budget in terms of dues and also in course fees than originally planned, because we are Zoom and we're not live. So certainly those numbers are down. And when I get to the membership report, you'll see that we had more non-renewals this past year than normal, primarily because of the pandemic, I think, and people not being sure of what to expect or maybe not wanting to participate online. So we're certainly hoping that some of those folks will come back to us this fall when we return to in-person programs, as well as we have received some new members. So being mindful of that, we were very careful about spending this year, and certainly our expenses were down because we didn't have to pay for monthly meetings or as much postage or copying or things like that. So our expenses are down significantly, And we will most likely end the year with a small or decent surplus from this past year because of being so careful. So once we have a better sense of where we are financially at the end of the fiscal year, at the end of June, and when we see how our membership renewals are for next fiscal year, Don Cowie, our treasurer, and the audit committee will probably come to the board of directors meeting in September with a recommendation regarding whether if there is a surplus at the end in our operating fund, whether that should be rolled over into the next year in case we're expecting another shortfall, or if we feel confident about membership renewal and participation in courses, then it's been our practice to put any surplus from the budget into our facilities endowment fund, which is a wonderful way to secure the future of our space and of our program. The operating budget for next fiscal year that the board adopted in March is $139,000, and that was set with the anticipation of returning to in-person operations in the fall, and again, hopefully a strong membership renewal. In terms of HASP funds, I think it's always important to highlight at this meeting the importance of our endowment and facilities fund, which was started in 1998 and is the fund that we used money from to do this relocation and renovation project. And in combination with that, we had an additional campaign to add funds to that last year, as many of you know, and many of you were generous in giving to that. And we raised an additional just under $250,000. So the new cash value of that at the end of March, as you can see, was a little over 400,000, about 400,500. And that is the fund that supports our space here and all of the services that we get from Hope College. So there's a 4.5% draw from that fund that pays for our space and all the support services that we receive. Years ago, we also used to pay additional rent for our space to the college. We no longer do that. Since our alignment with Hope and since our relocation and renovation, it's just the endowment draw. As you know, the support services that we receive from Hope are amazing. We have CIT support, fiscal plan support, public affairs and marketing support, the list goes on and on. So those are all in-kind services that we receive that is really wonderful and a great way for us to maintain a tight budget. Grateful to all of you who donated to this project. So sorry that we only had a couple weeks in here before the pandemic hit and we shut down. But we look so forward to having you into the space again soon. And over this last year in the late fall, all of the new signage was added. So I believe there were some pictures of that online, but our donor signs have been added. And the library is stocked and ready for you to enjoy. And so we look forward to having you in for that, to use that and to visit with us, and of course to use the new classroom space on a regular basis. Couple highlights, a reminder, Susan and I often have people email or call and say, thank you so much for all you do. And we appreciate that because we certainly keep a lot of balls in the air and things going, but it's important, very important for you to remember that HASP is a peer-led institute for learning and retirement, and that so much of the work is done by our members and by our committees. So I just want to highlight the amazing work that they've done this past year. There were no questions for the committee report submitted online, but I still want to highlight a few things. Our monthly program committee really jumped to the task and quickly adapted to providing our monthly programs online. We had 11 wonderful, engaging monthly programs with topics ranging from the environment to arts and music to civil discourse, history, aging. So they just did a great job with that, and we're very grateful to them. Our special events team really struggled because they were so sad about all the events they had to cancel or reschedule or delay for another year. But they also really rose to the occasion and provided 4 Zoom trivia nights for us, which was a great social event for us to have online together. And then our first scheduled in-person event is in July. And so hopefully most of you have seen the information about that and hope to see many of you there. Curriculum, same, scrambled. In the summer, last summer, we had a lighter summer schedule than normal, but learned to Zoom, got pretty good at it. became used to asking presenters to do that for us and help them through it. And then as the year went on, we continued to add more and more courses to the point where we had 106 total courses provided and over 149 sessions. And what ended up being sort of a benefit of that is that we were able to have many speakers from all over the United States. Instead of just local people, we were able to have some amazing programs that we would not have been able to do if we were only still in person. And as we look ahead to the fall and to the future of HASP, there will be more of that, because now that we've learned to Zoom and we have the technology, we'll be able to provide courses both in person and online and be able to host speakers from wherever they are. Additionally, service committee, obviously that was a little bit more of a struggle too during the pandemic because some of our volunteer opportunities were not available to us, but we still had our service to Hope College. There were 84 volunteer spots for various faculty requests that HASP filled. And then there were an additional 50 HASP volunteers who were involved in other projects. We wrote support and thank you notes to CASA volunteers and students, to Holland Public Schools teachers, and several members participated by helping Community Action House clients with tax filing assistance. So thank you for that. It was a wonderful way for us to serve Hope and the community. And membership, we have 774 members to date. At this time last year, we had just gone over 900. So as I mentioned earlier, this past summer, we had 153 members who did not renew and 16 who passed away. That is a higher number than normal for non-renewals. And so we're anxious to see what this year brings. We want to express so much thanks to the members who continued their membership, even though they maybe did not participate on Zoom, but still wanted to support the organization. We are so grateful. It really helped us get through the year financially, and it really shows your commitment to HASP. We appreciate that so much. And we hope that will be true again this year, and we hope that some people will come back as we return to in-person programs. We also had 27 new and reinstated. So some people were like, oh, I'm just not going to do this because it's Zoom. And then I think they heard from friends or other HASP members, hey, this is going great. I can join a class from my cottage or my daughter's house or my friend's house or wherever. And so some people came back, and that was great. And lastly, we still managed to pull off a HASP review. So it's our second edition that's been published in COVID. I want to say thank you to Dave Schmidt and Susan Miller and Jan Gebbin for their faithful help with that. You probably received in your email, you should have received the opportunity to sign up to receive one that's printed, but it's also available online. And we just decided that we're going to have, in honor of our cover, we're going to have an ice cream social in the next week or two, where you can pick up a copy of the HASP review in person and have some ice cream and see some HASP friends, and also thank the authors and artists who contributed this year. A few other highlights, obviously I already mentioned that we learned how to Zoom and we got better at it. And I know it was frustrating at times. I want to acknowledge that and just say thank you for sticking with us and for asking questions and for adapting as we went along. Special thanks to Susan Timmer, who had all the patience necessary when I ran out of it to help people get it on their computer or learn how to use it or work with presenters on how to use it. So special thanks to her for her technology assistance and patience with all of that. Also, obviously I said earlier, but we will, as we move forward into the fall, there will probably be the opportunity for you to indicate when you register for classes in the fall, whether you would like to attend in person or online. We've had quite a few members who have expressed their desire for us to continue with the online option because it's difficult for them to get out, or they're caring for someone else, or they're traveling, and it still gives them the opportunity to tune into class. So we have purchased some additional equipment, and we'll make sure that we're able to do that whenever the presenter is willing to do both. Additionally, Barb and Brad have been busy with board work. We appointed a COVID-19 ad hoc committee of the board, and that committee has met regularly throughout the year in conjunction with Hope College authorities to determine what is the safest and best way for us to continue to deliver our programs. We will meet again before the end of June and before our next board meeting to discuss details of the fall, but things are opening up and feeling more secure and safe. And with the majority, we believe, of our HASP members being vaccinated, we do expect to be able to offer in-person options. When I listened to the President Scogan's town hall meeting a week ago, the college is currently planning a 3-foot distance in classrooms for students. But again, that may change between now and the fall, and that was specifically for students and based on them not necessarily knowing yet the percentage of students that have been vaccinated. I feel pretty confident that our rate of vaccination for our age group is higher. So we'll be discussing that and discussing whether we need to have any limits on the class size, but certainly we'll make sure to provide both. Another emphasis of board work this past year has been diversity, equity, and inclusion. There was a special committee of the board that was appointed to discuss and look at this. One of the first things we did was to look at all of our documents to make sure we were using inclusive language and that there wasn't anything that we needed to change there. Barb Stedgink wrote about this in her president's report in the newsletter, so I encourage you to refer to that. And at this time last year, when we were recording this meeting, there were events around the country and the world that really heightened our awareness of racial injustices. Unfortunately, as the year went on, there were more, both here in our community, on campus, and in the world. And it's making it unequivocally clear that racism still exists in our country, that it's still a problem and it's still in our community. So we feel strongly that as lifelong learners, we have to commit to educating ourselves and doing better. As a result of that, we started talking about programs we could have, courses we could offer, and as you know, the winter-spring emphasis was diversity, racism, and inclusion. And I hope that many of you were able to participate in those courses. If you weren't able to, they are online now. I encourage you to listen to those. This is a journey and a responsibility for all of us, and it requires actions and not just words. So again, the board has engaged in document reviews, a curriculum focus, and as you saw from a recent email that I sent out, we've also set up a special section in the library with many of the resources and books that we discussed this past semester, as well as ones that have been recommended by the Diversity and Inclusion Office at Hope. We continue to have discussions, though, about how can our membership reflect this and when will it reflect this? So just a reminder that that responsibility is on us. Membership in HASP is generally by referral, generally by a member inviting someone. So we just encourage you to think about that and be mindful of that, that if we're want to share HASP with others, to share widely. A couple important reminders. I said this last year, and I'm using this slide again because, as many of you know, George Zeidema passed away this past year. And George hired me. George was the man who called and made the offer to me way back in 2007 and said, Kim, this is George, and I'm calling to offer you the position as director of HASP. And then there was a pause, and I was paused. And he said, and by the way, I really think you should take it. So I said, okay, George. And from that point on, George and I, we just hit it off. We were buds, we were friends, and we enjoyed each other's company, and we had really good conversations, and we met for lunch sometimes at Alpen Rose across from the Warm Friend. And one of the last conversations I had with George was very specifically about HASP and some concerns that he had about it and about its growth and some of the changes that we were experiencing. And I promised him at that lunch that every year at the annual meeting, I would remind and raise the awareness of our sense of responsibility to the organization and to each other. That as a peer-led organization, we should always be asking ourselves, not only what am I getting from this, but what am I contributing to this? And he reminded me of a quote of Dr. Hallenbach, who was HASP founder, and that's preserving a sense of responsibility by every member is one of constant challenge for HASP as an organization. Members must understand that to join is to contract to be a doer, a planner, a volunteer in service, on occasion a leader or facilitator, rather than simply a recipient. So that was my promise to George, and I want to fulfill that today and every year at the annual meeting. So as we look ahead in the next 2 weeks to membership renewal coming out, there will be an opportunity for you to both renew or cancel your membership, but also for you to indicate on that online form whether you are interested and able to serve on any committees or as a class coordinator or in service opportunities. So I just encourage you to ask yourself that question and to think about how you're fulfilling your sense of responsibility to HASP. Membership renewal, again, even in the midst of a global pandemic, we did our best to provide the continued learning and engagement that HASP programs provide. It wasn't perfect, we know that. It wasn't the same, we know that. And it won't be the same moving forward. Hopefully it will be better. Again, hopefully there'll be the opportunity for you to be here and engage with each other in person, but also if you can't be, to still participate in courses online. We will continue to offer remote delivery of summer courses for this summer with, as you saw, I believe there's about 9 sessions off-site and outdoors. And then we will hope to return in the fall. We'll continue to work with the leadership at Hope and local health officials to determine the details of that. So I encourage you to stay tuned for updates to come and to watch your email for those. And as you know, enrollment for summer courses opens tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. So we look forward to that. Couple questions that came in email regarding the treasurer's report specifically that I'll address in a minute. And I also just want to say that there's a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. So you can feel free to type in any questions that you have as we go through this meeting during this time, and we will address those at the end too. So if there's a question you have, please use that option, type it in, and we will take some time at the end to address those. I did not bring my paper up here that had the questions on it. If somebody could find that for me. But one question was regarding why are dues still the same this year when, thank you. Why are dues the same this year when membership benefits were significantly reduced? For example, no annual free lunch, no printed membership directory sent, no cost for our monthly meetings, and no coffee and cookies. Let me just say a couple comments about that, and I'm always open to that conversation because I'm actually really proud of our budget and I'm really proud of the work that our treasurer and the audit committee does to make sure that we have a safe, secure, responsible budget. Dues have been $100 since 2010. That was the last time there was an increase. The reason that we have kept dues at $100 is because it's the one constant that we know that we have, that we can give a pretty good estimate based on a number that we know we can count on for our annual operating budget. Whereas our only other source of income is courses, and that is obviously very dependent on 1, how many courses we're able to offer, and 2, how good participation is. So membership dues are sort of that one mostly solid confidence that we have for the budget. And we kept them at $100 for all this time, very conscious that it's still a number and a price that's affordable for people who can't participate as actively anymore, but still want to support the organization. We also felt that it was a number where it could hold for a long time, and the people who wanted to participate in a lot of courses then pay for the courses as opposed to paying a higher membership fee. So again, it's been a long time since we've seen an increase, and we kept it the same because we wanted that security to know that our programs would continue, our staff would be able to be paid, we'd be able to keep our space and pay for that. And yes, no lunch this year or breakfast. And no cookies on a regular basis. And the membership directory, that's a long, complicated story, but the management system changed for membership roles. And with Amy's leaving and Susan coming, we were behind on that. And then when we did get it all updated and secure, that we were confident those were who our current members were, it was already March, I believe. And so we made copies available online, particularly to board and committee members. So there is an updated directory online if you would like that. And we will print another one late this fall. And those will be printed copies this year. So we just took 1 year off from that for various reasons. And, but it will come back. And in terms of monthly meetings, there was also the question related to the treasurer's report that this particular person was sad to hear from several HASP members that they were considering not renewing because they were concerned that when we get together for monthly meetings again, they will be in the Jack Miller, and that it's difficult to have conversation there, parking is poor, and we don't have tables to sit at. So let me speak to that for a moment. And maybe I could have been more transparent about the process that we went through to come to that decision. But if you've been a member for a couple of years, then you recall that we did 2 surveys of the full membership and that we used the data from those surveys to make this decision. There were a couple of factors there. Certainly one was cost. The Civic Center was more than double what we pay for just coffee and cookies to go to Jack Miller. It was several $1,000s a meeting. And they could not guarantee us or give us a contract for that price for any particular length of time. So it was always sort of a maybe, like if something better came along for them, then they could have booted us or kicked us out of that first Tuesday. We also had multiple complaints from members about the sound, issues with sound in the Civic Center, and that people didn't like the coffee or the cookies. We have also found that in general at monthly meetings, people tend to sit with their friends and who they already know anyway. So there wasn't as much interaction with new people as we had hoped. And we felt like that was actually easier to do and happened more in the lobby of the Jack Miller in that half an hour before the meeting starts. We also recognize that we are part of Hope College and that that is a space that's available to us at no cost, and we're just paying for coffee and refreshments. And so then we also adapted to that by asking them to keep the refreshments out for after the meeting so that there's more time to socialize after the meeting as well. I agree that some tables and chairs would be very helpful so that you're not standing the whole time. And that was difficult a year ago, but I think we can push back on that and ask again and try to do some adaptations that way. But we also found that the screen was easier to see and the sound was better in Jack Miller because of the slope of the way that that room is built. And again, we did the survey, we received membership feedback, and the Jack Miller won in terms of votes for where the meeting should be held. So that's the history on that. I realize it's not perfect. I realize that parking is a huge challenge. We are going to continue to provide the shuttle. On average, about 30 people have used that. Certainly more could use it. The people I've spoken to that have used it think it's great and very helpful. So I encourage you to try it. I also encourage you, if something's not working, to come and talk to me or a member of the board about what's not working or what you don't like about it. I will remind you that I'm a social worker, trained as a social worker. So if you come to me and tell me it's not working, my first question will probably be, thank you for sharing that with me, and what solutions would you propose? So be thinking about that. I know it's not perfect, but I would also just remind you that HASP is about a lot more than the monthly program. And I love the monthly program, and it's a very important part of our organization, but it's not the only part. We have courses every day, all week long, all year long, and those are a wonderful time to come and have coffee and cookies and sit down and engage in conversation with other HASP members. So I would encourage you to attend courses if you would like more of that. There was another question related to budget regarding whether or not we needed an additional line item for technology assistance. Given that we'll be doing providing a dual way of attending courses, both online and in person, what will that require? I would just say that we did add some money to the equipment budget to purchase a camera and microphone to make that easier to do like we are today, as well as we kept our student line item budget for student help and added a little money to that in hopes that with the fall, we'll be able to hire a student again, and that 20-something-year-old will be able to provide some great tech assistance for us for Zooming classes while they're also being held live. So we have considered that, and certainly it is an extra weight on Susan and I, but we will evaluate that after fall semester, see how it's going, and we can always adapt the budget as we need to if that's not enough. But thank you for that question. It's a really good question. The last one was whether or not there are fees for summer courses. The answer to that is yes. Last year, we offered all of our summer courses for free with no cost or registration because we really wanted to motivate people to try Zoom and to learn the technology. And so we did not charge for summer courses. Plus, we also had last year, we were above budget for courses. We had raised more money in course fees than we expected because our fall and winter spring was so strong. But this year, we will be charging for summer courses, and again, registration for summer opens tomorrow. So I think that was it for questions that were submitted online. And I don't think I have anything else except to say thank you to Barbara and to Brad and to Don Cowie and to Susan for their wonderful support this last year. It was very frustrating and tiring at times trying to keep up and learn all the new stuff and deliver services in a new way. But I just had a wonderful, wonderful support team who took great care of us professionally and personally through this last year. I hope the same has been true for you. Again, I know it was not always perfect, but I'm so proud of HASP for the amount of programs that we still delivered, for the amount of participation that we still had, and for people's living proof that they are lifelong learners and can learn to do new things in new ways. So thank you for that. Barb.
Thank you, Kim. That was a lot of information, and I'm afraid that I'm probably going to repeat some of it, but that's okay. Sometimes we need to hear things 2 times, 3 times, 6 times, whatever. We're all getting to that point in our ages. The standing committee reports were also published in the June 2021 newsletter, and obviously you have been reading that, and we've had some questions. There were no specific questions about the committees, and I'm very grateful for Kim to have handled all the questions that came regarding the treasurer's report. Additionally, we would like to thank all members who served on various committees this past year. As Kim pointed out, that we are a peer-led organization, and member participation in planning and implementing our programs and activities is of utmost importance and is vital to our success. She did recognize our communications committee, and I want to do that again. That this year, we want to thank Dave Schmidt, Susan Miller, Jan Gevin, Kim Mendels herself, and all the past writers and artists who contributed to the 2021 review. A special thanks to Diane Taylor for her cover design. I think you've been watching it, or you saw it at the beginning of our program. It's just a delightful picture, and it makes me feel like I really want to run downtown and get some ice cream soon. So I'm looking forward to the ice cream social already. And as Kim pointed out, the 2021 edition is available online, and printed copies are available, but you must order them online. We are now going to recognize and thank the following retiring HASP board members. Paul Husingfeld, member at large. Deborah Williamson, member at large. Carla Verskure, membership chair. Maura Reynolds, Service Chair, and Judy Zielman, Special Events Chair. We also recognize and thank the following retiring committee members. On membership, Joe Cozio, Ann Seikel, and Doug Waltert. Curriculum committees, Marty Everett, Alver Skewer, Nancy Lausch, David Brower, Teresa Ellis, Connie Corvo, Brad Bright, Judy Parr as Humanities Chair, Mike Economos, Social Sciences Chair, and Bruce Bassett, SMT Chair. Special events, Hugh Ivany, Charlotte McKenzie, and Milt Newsma. Service, Eliot Tannis. And now Kim will give the nomination committee report.
Hello again. I just want to say thank you first to this year's nominating committee. Every year, the nominating committee consists of the 2 outgoing board members and 3 HASP members appointed by the president. And those people this year were Deborah Williamson, Ron Giroux, Shay Cobes, Pat Eldine, Steve O'Connor, and myself. And the nominating committee presents the following slate for election this year, which we did online through the Google form to receive feedback. President, 2nd year, Barbara Stedgink. Vice President, Brad Bright. Member at large, Kim Buckley. And another member at large, Carol Crawford. There were no nominations from the floor in the online form. And so this slate has been approved by both the board and by the membership. And we are excited and grateful for these members who will serve. Additionally, we recognize new committee chairs. New committee chairs are appointed by the board through the nominating committee, but are not voted on for the annual meeting. And our new chairs for this next fiscal year are membership, Doug Walford, service, Gloria Goodwin, special events, Alice Doss, and reappointed as chairs to curriculum, Sharon Aarons-Horst, and monthly program, Claudia Berry. Again, we're excited to work with you and we're grateful for your service.
Thank you, Kim. We present to you the 2021-22 Board of Directors. Barbara Stedgink, President. Brad Bright, Vice President. Don Cowie, Treasurer. David Blatt, Member at Large. Ron Giroux, Member at Large. Susan Couch, Member at Large. Diana Nelson, Member at Large. Kim Buckley, Member at Large. Carol Crawford, Member at Large. Sharon Aarons-Horst, Curriculum. Doug Walford, Membership. Claudia Berry, Monthly Program. Alice Doss, Special Events. Gloria Goodwin, Service. Fred Johnson, Hope Liaison. Josh Bishop, Hope Liaison. Kim Mendels, Director. And ex officio member Scott Travis, Executive Director of Alumni and Engagement. This year, we received 2 nominations for the HASP Distinguished Service Award. Both nominations were for the same member. One of the nominations stated that organizations are often successful because of work done quietly, behind the scenes, and with little fanfare of recognition. This year's recipient of the award is certainly an example of this. An active HASP member for 20 years, this recipient has been a member of the Service Committee, where he has been an important link between HASP and Hope College faculty and students. We are pleased and honored to present the HASP Distinguished Service Award of 2021 to Eliot Tannis for his dedication to bring HASP lifelong learners together with Hope College students through volunteer opportunities within various college classes. Every year, Eliot has requested the names of new faculty from the college provost so that he could introduce them to HASP as a resource for their teaching and research. He also contacted faculty members who previously used HASP members in their classes and reminded them that our members would be willing and ready to be of service. After HASP members responded to Eliot's requests for volunteers, he completed all the arrangements for these opportunities. Eliot was a member of the Hope College Mathematics Department from 1965 to 2000. He is the author of 4 books on statistics. He is the recipient of the Distinguished College Teaching of Mathematics Award and Distinguished Service Award from the Michigan section of the Mathematical Association of Michigan. And he also received the Hope Outstanding Professor Educator Award in 1989. Thank you, Eliot, for your many years of excellent leadership in promoting and overseeing one of HASP's favorite service opportunities. A HASP Distinguished Service Award plaque and a letter entitling Eliot to an honorary lifetime membership in HASP will be delivered to him by officers of the board later this week. Please send your congratulations to Eliot.
Good morning. In the constant contact email you received last week, there was a link to the recording, of last year's annual business meeting. I hope you took the opportunity to view it again. While we're all eagerly looking ahead to a post-pandemic summer, a quick glance back to last year's annual meeting offers a wonderful tableau of the HASP organization and its leadership at its very best. The video begins with a virtual tour of the new facility, the gathering areas, office space, and the new classroom. Many of you have never seen it in person. For others like me, we've all but forgotten what it looks like. The new facility sparkled as a background for Kim's director report, as she expertly led us through a review of our operations and organizational values. The whole scene was captured by our new at the time program coordinator, Susan Timmer, who has proven to be a great addition to our team. Outgoing President Larry Lynn received richly deserved praise for leading us through the renovation and completion of our new home. And while Larry had to deal with the question of where to hold monthly meetings, our incoming president, Barbara Stegink, began her term after April and May's monthly meetings had been canceled. And the question was no longer where to hold meetings, but if we could even hold meetings at all. HASP was truly fortunate to have Barbara step into her leadership role during the COVID crisis. And though none of us were certain of what was ahead, I suspect she had an inkling of what the times would demand. In her comments that day, Barbara shared a personal mantra she had adopted years ago, that life is just one adjustment after another. And she spoke about how HASP had adjusted in the first few months of the pandemic. A year later, we're still adjusting. And I have marveled the entire time at how she has managed not just to help to hold things together, but how she's actually continued to lead us forward under very trying circumstances. Much of the decision-making and work that has been done this past year will continue to be an important part of our future. And now it is my privilege as Vice President to continue a HASP tradition, to present to Barbara a HASP President's Pin for her remarkable leadership during this past year. Barbara, on behalf of all of our members, we thank you, and we're very grateful for your service. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you for those wonderful, nice words. I think I'm pretty lucky to have a bright person as my vice president. Yes, a year ago, June 2020, we held our annual meeting remotely. A year ago, we were not sure what the future would hold for any of us as individuals or as a society. We were facing new challenges as an organization. But with leadership from Director Kim Mendels, our board and committees, we took steps to plan a virtual summer curriculum term. However, trying to look ahead and plan for future terms always put us in a wait and see pattern, and as everything around us changed almost daily. We relied heavily on guidelines and protocols that came down to us through Hope College's administration, but always with a consistent concern for the safety of our own members. We continued to move through the pandemic year of 2020-21, and we now find ourselves 1 year later in a place which appears to have a bigger and brighter light at the end of the tunnel. We are all looking forward to meeting, learning, and socializing together as HASP members. I hope you will agree with me that we are almost there. However, as we look forward to returning to the HASP classroom, to the Miller Auditorium, and engaging in social activities with each other, we will not be returning to the HASP of 2019 or 2020. Some things will be different and hopefully better. We have experienced and learned so many things during this past year, important things that have helped us grow in knowledge and technology as we entered the virtual classroom and often had course presenters or program presenters from places such as Northern Michigan, the state of Washington, and from homes and offices in communities other than Holland. We have learned about pandemics, viruses, and vaccines, and the enormous impact these have had not only on our country, but around the world. We hopefully have learned to be more compassionate and understanding about our fellow human beings, even though we have not always been able to find answers to enable us to be better citizens of the world. So many things have happened this last year, more than I can begin to relate to you this morning. But what I do hope is that we all have learned that we cannot turn around and go backwards. We cannot be who we were 1 or 2 years ago, individually or as a group. We have come through all those tunnels which I talked about a few months ago. And together, we are about to arrive at a new place, a better place, and an exciting place. As one of your leaders, I am very excited that we will be able to implement much of what we have learned this last year into our future programs. I hope that you will embrace our 2021-2022 year with enthusiastic anticipation. Now, I thought that I was going to go down in HASP history as the pandemic press, but I am very happy that I can continue in leadership positions as we begin a new phase of HASP. an extraordinary lifelong learning organization. Thank you for the continuing privilege to serve as your HASP president for 2021-22. And now my colleagues and I would like to thank you all for attending our meeting today. We are adjourned. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye. See you soon.
See you soon. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.